I am actually desperately looking for, let us say, a post-COVID romantic story to do, which is age appropriate.
Madhavan, thank you for joining us today. Such a pleasure to be speaking to you.
Likewise, Kashika.
So 25 years in the industry, right? And having done almost every kind of role across languages and playing a 20-something hero, then a 30-something hero, now 40-something hero, have you cracked the formula of what it takes to be a hero on screen?
Yeah, I think I have. I think
Are
you
you
should
going to
not take
share it with
yourself.
us?
Yeah. I think if you don't take your star image and your and who you have been earlier too seriously, and you're able to keep yourself aspirational in terms of the knowledge you acquire as you go, because one of the biggest curses of being part of the industry is that you stay part of the industry. You
Right.
don't get to meet normal people. You don't get to go out and see what really impresses them. Some of us are lucky enough to be able to surf that for a long time because you do big projects and you do mounting large with actions and drama and sequence where you really don't have to portray somebody. You're accepted for the largeness of the script. That works to a certain extent. But if you're doing the kind of stories that I do, where you have to be characters, you have to ever so often take a break, go back and understand what is really relatable to the common man, and then make that change. So as a hero, if I've decided not to take myself seriously. I don't want an introduction in a movie. I want to creep up and grab people's attention as a character.
Right.
And strangely, that has worked for me.
That's amazing. So Decoupled, your new show with Sureen Chawla, is about this couple who is pretending to be in a happy marriage for the sake of their daughter. And even though they're separated for all intents and purposes, they live together and are largely cordial and respectful. I feel like too many movies and shows have been made on marriage to figure out what that special sauce is that makes or breaks a marriage. But divorce or separation is still largely treated like a tragedy, which doesn't seem to be happening in Decoupled. I understand that the show is a dramedy, so you have to keep things light, but it still seems like a very deliberate, significant choice. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely. I think I'm, the thing is, like I've been saying earlier, when you're young and, you're in a relationship, you have the strength to be what you want to be seen as. All right.
Right.
In college and, the younger days, you have the exuberance, the resilience to be who you want to be. But over a period of time in a relationship, you stop being who you want to be and become who you are, because it's just can't hold on to that false front for too long.
Absolutely.
And sometimes the love is strong enough for the people to accept and adapt to the person that you've become. And at yet other times, it's a shock. So a marriage doesn't really have to break. I mean, there are divorces because of, abuse and because of cheating and the stuff like that. But yet other times there are divorces where you really like the person, you really care for the person, you really love the person, but you don't want to live with the person.
Right.
And there are instances like that. And when you have a situation where you maybe it's not the other person themselves, you suddenly realize that's not the life you wanted to live, that's not the city you wanted to live in, and maybe this love is not strong enough for them to say, hey, you know what, let me chuck my dreams and just make all the compromises in the world and turn bitter. And then you realize that you might turn bitter and ruin both of your lives. So trying to keep the collateral damage as minimal as possible. If people separate and still be friends and divorce and try to live the life that they want to, that becomes a precedent for people in arranged marriages. It's even more of a shock, right? You think you've found a person. Again, you're trying to be what you want to be, and then suddenly you become who you are, and then it becomes so difficult.
Right.
So we're trying to explore a relationship which is in that strata, which is an intellectual kind of a family that lives in Gurgaon, and they're meeting people from all walks of life, from the bais to the domestic help to the Chetan Bhagats, and how, when a relationship is strained, how does it go through that, and what is it that they do to minimize the collateral damage, which is in this case their daughter, and the fact that she hates people who are getting divorced because she's seen her friends' lives being ruined. And I thought that's a very niche relationship that hasn't been seen much on at least the Indian screens before, and that's why I was very excited about the script.
Right. Decoupled is also such a great term. Do you think it'll make its way into people's dictionaries like conscious uncoupling, or have you already heard of separated couples refer to each other like that?
No, actually, this is the first time I heard the word. And now that you bring it up, I realize I've never heard. It looks like a very obvious word, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And it looks like, I mean, I must have heard that about trains where they're being decoupled from an engine or something like that. But I never, associated that with marriage. And I think the whole credit goes to Arya, the writer of this. And he's actually not Arya, let me say Manu, who I think I've emulated Arya after, because Manu, has a very strange pick on life, and the whole credit should go to him, to Manu for getting up with. I don't know who came up with the title, but it's a brilliant title.
All right.
Yeah.
In the last couple of years, because of the pandemic, I feel, and the lockdown, the way people consume content has changed drastically. I feel like more and more people are gravitating towards OTT platform, and once there, preferring to watch sort of low stakes, happy, heartwarming content. Which is not to say that you wouldn't do something like Breathe Again, which was very like intense stuff. But have you also noticed this, and has that impacted what you're working on these days?
Well, that's brilliant, Kashika. Actually, that's exactly what I've been trying to tell these people in the last 4 interviews. That's been my exact observation, because COVID itself has become morbid. It has increased the morbidity in our lives in every which way possible. To go to the theaters and also be fed the same thing or on OTT at this point of time is not smart. And to create content like that, I think is people trying to pour off pre-COVID stories that they'll spend a lot of money or time creating. But if I were you, and like you said, if I haven't been to your house, but I will tell you what happened initially when the COVID started. You're all sitting at home and watching your own private screens, and really catching up with the kind of series you wanted to watch. And slowly the bloody chair that you used to sit and watch started, hurting your back, and you wanted to get up and then pretend that you want to be closer to the family and do something more family oriented. And as a family, then you wanted to see a few things, and then you realized that everything was fully morbid.
Yeah.
And over a period of time, then you resorted back to going and seeing Friends and Modern Family and Rishikesh Das Mukherjee. That's, like you said very correctly, you came back to you have to, can you show me something that's uplifting and something that's positive? And I think that trend will also follow into content that's going to come for the next couple of years for sure, including in cinema. So if you give me a film which is going to tell me something about a social upheaval or a social injustice, I'm like, yeah, okay, boss, I got it, man. Okay, but don't bring me to the theater to make me feel morose. Make me come there and shake me up and let me forget about all this. So you're absolutely right. I am actually desperately looking for, let us say, a post-COVID romantic story to do, which is age appropriate. And before I become too old and it looked like a man taking chances with younger women, I want to see if I can find that kind of story. And I'm really dying to do a romantic film, like maybe a Pretty Woman or that kind of stuff.
Right.
But very difficult to come by.
You have a 16-year-old son. Have you been actively educating him on cinema? And how do you decide what you introduce him to, because it might leave a lasting impact and even shape his young mind?
He's not interested in cinema. So he's a swimmer. So his day consists of 6 hours of swimming. And in between he's eating, he'll watch anime on TV, which is some Korean or Japanese anime.
Right.
And so I'm like, "Abey, tera baap actor hai, kuch to dekh le, picture." Yeah. He's seen all my films and he thinks I'm a good actor. But apart from that, his interest in cinema is right now minimalistic. So honestly, his day is so filled that it makes me dizzy. He gets up at 4, and he's swimming 6-7 hours a day.
That's
and in between he's going to school. Yeah. So his homework and his exams and all that. I don't even understand how the school works anymore, because we had simple 3-4 semesters and exams. Now there is the words itself are like out of mind. So he's managing that. So no, he's not. I'm not working on educating him on cinema at all.
What is his favorite work of yours?
You know what? He's a man of few words. But I remember when he saw Vikram Veda, he just got up and came and hugged me and he says, "Baba, fabulous." And then I don't want to tell you what his reaction for rocketry was, because it might sound colored. So I'll tell you after the release of it.
Sure. All right. Okay, my final question. After working for so many years, you're bound to encounter hits and misses both. How do you celebrate a hit and how do you move on from a miss?
Lovely question. Both the same way.
Oh,
So I have learned to master that reaction over a period of time. Thankfully, television gave me a lot of opportunities for that. So the film is a blockbuster. Then for that one day after that, my wife says, "Ah, you're intolerable because I am the king of the world. Like fuck everybody, I am the best guy. Like nobody can do that. Yeah, you know, I have a couple of drinks, I become boisterous and party and dance and whatever. Go to sleep, forget about it. Get up the next morning with a sinking feeling in my stomach with what's next." And that's happened. Like the next
okay.
day, the euphoria is gone and the fear sets in big time. Similarly, if there is a disaster, thankfully, my life, at least in Hindi films, have been very minimalistic of those. But it hits you hard, right? And you, for that one day, I'm depressed and I'm nasty and I'm pissed off and I want to just go curl up and sleep and wonder where I went wrong, because eventually it all mounts up on the lead actor's head. So that becomes a disaster in my level. So I feel very bad. I feel very depressed. I eat a lot and go to sleep. And the next morning I get up, I'm cleansed of it with a deep sense of fear of what next. So, so the reactions
How
are almost the
relatable.
same. Yeah.
Not that such high stakes are ever going to happen in my life, but
I'm
how
sure they
relatable.
will. I'm sure they will. You never know,
Yeah,
when a moment actually becomes eternal.
that's true. All right. Thank you so much for such a great interview, Madhavan. All
You're
the
very
very
kind.
best for Decoupled and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you so much. You're very sweet. Thanks.